Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are zooming way in, like microscopically in, on the very fabric of life itself. We're talking about tissues, the body's incredible, specialized teams of cells that come together to build every single plant and animal on this planet.
But let's start with a really basic question. Tiny organisms like an amoeba are just one cell, and they do everything on their own, so why aren't we just one giant, superpowered cell? What's the advantage of being made of trillions of tiny ones instead?
Well, the answer is all about teamwork and efficiency. A single cell has to be a jack of all trades, which means it can't be a true master of any one thing. In a complex organism, you get what's called a division of labor. Cells get to specialize. They form teams to handle just one specific job, and they get really good at it. And that organized cluster of specialist cells, that's exactly what a tissue is. Think of your muscles, or the blood flowing through your veins, or even the phloem that carries food in a plant. These aren't just random piles of cells. They are highly coordinated teams, all designed to do one job as perfectly as possible.
So this leap to specialized teams is really the secret sauce for creating complex life. But here's the thing. Are all these teams built the same way? As we're about to see, when you compare plants and animals, the rulebook is completely different.
Okay, let's dive into this. We know both plants and animals are made of tissues, but are they built from the same types of tissues? I mean, a plant leads a pretty stationary life, while a tiger is constantly on the move. Does that fundamental difference in lifestyle change their very building blocks?
Absolutely. An organism's lifestyle dictates its entire blueprint, right down to the cellular level. Plants are fixed in place, so they need a ton of supportive tissue, which is often made of dead cells for maximum rigidity. Animals, on the other hand, are built to move. That means they burn way more energy, and their tissues are overwhelmingly made of living cells. Even their growth patterns are totally different. So let's start with plants. We're going to explore the specific work crews, or tissues, that they use to solve the unique challenges that come with living a stationary life.
First challenge up, growth. Now, unlike an animal that tends to grow more or less uniformly, a plant's growth is restricted to very specific areas. It's not just getting bigger everywhere all at once. So how does it manage that? The secret is something called meristematic tissue. You can think of this as the plant's dedicated growth crew. It's only stationed at key points, like the very tips of roots and stems. The cells here are constantly active, just dividing and dividing, cranking out new cells that will later mature and take on more specialized jobs.
Okay, so the plant is growing taller, but now it has to support itself against gravity and wind. It needs to be a combination of both strong and flexible.
To solve this, plants have a whole toolkit. They've got 3 different simple tissues, just for support. There's parenchyma, which is kind of the basic filler tissue that also stores food. Then you have collenchyma, which provides flexibility, letting stems bend without breaking. And for pure, rigid strength, there's sclerenchyma. These are dead, thick-walled cells that create the kind of hard armor you'd find on a coconut husk.
The plant is growing, it's standing tall, but now it needs an internal plumbing system. It's got to get water from its roots all the way up to its leaves, and then get the food it makes in the leaves down to every other part of its body. To manage all this, plants evolved 2 amazing transport tissues. Xylem is basically a network of tubes that transports water and minerals up from the soil. Then phloem is a separate network that distributes the food made during photosynthesis from the leaves to the rest of the plant. Together, they form this highly efficient 2-way highway. Now, let's totally pivot and jump into the animal kingdom. Remember, the entire blueprint here is different. It's all engineered for an active, high-energy lifestyle. So, animals generally sort their tissues into 4 main departments. You've got epithelial tissue, which is the covering crew. Think skin and linings. There's connective tissue, which supports and connects everything else. Muscular tissue, which creates movement. And nervous tissue, which handles all the high-speed communication.
Let's look a little closer at connective tissue, because it is fascinatingly diverse. The key concept here is that the cells aren't packed tightly together. Instead, they're suspended in this substance called an intercellular matrix. And the nature of that matrix, whether it's liquid or solid, is what gives the tissue its specific properties.
And this one principle leads to some wildly different results. For example, blood is a connective tissue, and its matrix is a fluid, plasma. Bone is also a connective tissue, but its matrix is hard and rigid, made of calcium compounds. It's the same idea, cells in a matrix, producing everything from the liquid that carries oxygen to the solid framework that supports your whole body.
But the defining feature of most animals is, of course, their ability to move. And this amazing feat is all made possible by a tissue built from specialized cells that contain proteins that can do one simple thing: contract.
And this ability to contract is refined into 3 types of muscle tissue. You've got striated or skeletal muscle, which is what you control voluntarily to move your limbs. Then there's smooth muscle, which works involuntarily in places like your digestive system. And finally, cardiac muscle, which is found only in the heart, contracting rhythmically all on its own for your entire life.
All that movement needs coordination, though. An animal has to be able to react to its environment, and it has to do it quickly. This requires a high-speed internal communications network.
That network is the nervous tissue, and it's made up of cells called neurons. These are basically the body's biological wiring, transmitting electrical signals called nerve impulses at incredible speeds. It's this amazing partnership between nerve and muscle tissue that gives animals their fundamental ability to move so rapidly in response to the world.
So, let's bring this all back together. We've seen 2 very different approaches to life, and as a result, we've seen 2 very different sets of biological building blocks. Ultimately, it really all comes down to one thing. Form always follows function. The very structure of an organism, right down to its tissues, is a direct reflection of how it lives. The tissues in a plant are perfectly adapted for just staying put, while the tissues in an animal are engineered for a life of action. Their mode of life defines everything.
We've seen that tissues are these specialized teams, but it makes you wonder, what happens when you bring those different teams together? When muscle tissue and nervous tissue and connective tissue all join forces to perform an even more complex function, what do they build then?